Good evening and welcome to REST's annual members meeting. I'm Gemma Kyle, Chief Risk Officer of REST, and it's my great pleasure to be your host. I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of the land we're on tonight. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the many lands you join us on from online. I pay my deepest respects to elders past and present and all First Nations peoples attending this evening. Before we get started, please note this session is being recorded and will be uploaded to the REST website after the event. Thank you to everyone who is joining with us to reflect on how we've been working to deliver value to you, our members. We've got a fantastic agenda planned, kicking off with a welcome from REST Chair, James Merlino. Next, we'll hear a REST update from our Chief Executive Officer, Vicky Doyle, followed by an investment update from our Interim Co-Chief Investment Officer, Simon Esposito. Simon, together with Kiran Singh, have stepped into interim co-CIO roles following the recent departure of Andrew Lill. After this, we'll answer your questions during the member question and answer session. Thanks to everyone who has already sent in questions. You can also submit questions anytime during the event. Simply click the box on the top left of your screen and type your question. We'll be answering pre-submitted and live questions, and we'll answer as many as we can during the Q&A session. If we don't answer your question tonight, please don't worry. We'll answer all questions and share our responses on our website within a month. Since this event is public, we can't give individual financial advice, so please keep your questions general. We'll share more about how you can access personal financial advice a little later. Our Board of Directors and Executive Leadership team are also online tonight to help answer your questions if needed. You can see them now on the screen. Give us a wave, everyone. Thank you. And now I'm pleased to introduce REST Chair, James Merlino, to officially welcome you. Thanks, James.
Thanks very much, Gemma. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to everyone with us tonight. It's been my honour to serve as chair of the REST board for almost 2 years now, alongside my fellow board members who you saw on your screen a few moments ago. Together, we guide REST's strategic direction with a singular focus on your best financial interests. This commitment runs through the entire organisation. This year, on behalf of the board and the entire REST team, I'm pleased to share we've continued to evolve alongside you, our members. We've continued to make good progress on your behalf in service of our goal to grow your super and drive your best financial interests forward. Today, we're one of Australia's largest super funds. More than 2 million Australians trust us with a combined $86 billion in retirement savings. We have a diverse membership with half our members under 30, and we represent more than 1 million women. And we continue to grow at a rapid rate. More than 77,000 members have chosen to join us in the past 12 months alone. This amount of growth gives us the size, scale, and financial benefits that many funds don't have. As we reflect on the past financial year, I'm acutely aware this time has been difficult for many of you. Sustained high interest rates have continued to drive financial stress and cost of living pressure. We know this pressure, alongside the nation's housing crisis, continues to impact your lives and sense of financial security. Supporting your financial well-being through an unwavering focus on growing your super remains our priority through these difficult times. I'm pleased to confirm your super once again has continued to perform, delivering strong results to help set you up for a dignified retirement. Our flagship investment option, Growth, formerly known as Core Strategy, achieved a strong result of 8.67% over the financial year. Meanwhile, our balanced pension investment option also achieved a strong 7.56% return in financial year 24, continuing to perform for our members in retirement. There are many aspects that go into delivering a strong return and maximising your balance. One of these aspects is the extraordinary amount of long-term vision we must maintain. In fact, one of the unique things about superannuation is just how far ahead we must look. This is of particular importance to Rest as a fund that represents so many Australians, including more than 1 million members under the age of 30, who will likely retire 3 or more decades into the future. Your super is a long-term investment that is designed to grow alongside you during your career and must weather different market cycles. So, when it comes to the investments we make, the products we offer, and the advice we give, we must think about the world you will retire into. Our first responsibility here and in everything we do is always to be led by your best financial interests. This means we must invest with the opportunities and challenges ahead in mind. And as stewards of your super, we're investing in projects that are shaping the communities for the future and taking actions that can help build a better, fairer, and more sustainable world for you. From critical infrastructure and sustainable agriculture to technologies that support the energy transition, we're helping to build a future that will help you thrive. This future focus also extends to the super system itself. We're focused on making sure this system and the policies that underpin it serve you today and decades into the future. You'll hear more tonight about how we're advocating to make the super system fairer for you. Lastly, I'd like to express my gratitude. On behalf of Rest's board, thank you for the confidence and trust you place in us and the Rest team. Before I hand over to Vicky Doyle, Rest's Chief Executive Officer, for an update on the fund's achievements and vision, I'll leave you with this video featuring 2 of Rest's assets focused on delivering value to you now and into the future.
Hi, I'm Sarah Darren. I am Head of Sustainability at Colgar Renewables. At Colgar, we aren't just building renewable assets, we've also set our own net zero target. The maintenance of these turbines is really important to ensure that we get a really long-term investment horizon and return back to Rest for what they've invested.
Yeah, hi, my name is Tony Murfitt and I'm the Regional Manager in WA for Warrakirri Cropping. I think it's really important that we are sustainable and sustainable in many ways, and just farming practices. There's so much we do already in sustainability. Being a Rest member makes it a really complete circle. It makes it a circle that fully engaged, and I sort of wish everyone else was, because it would just keep pushing and driving up better returns for our people and for our business.
Hi, I'm Laura Bennett and I work for Warrakirri Cropping. I'm the Precision Agriculture Manager. So precision agriculture is a really important tool to use on farm because we have really huge paddocks and we actually are able to identify variability in the landscape and then better manage it. We're also managing a lot of land and we're stewards of the land and we're managing a natural resource. So being able to manage not just crops but also our trees, waterways, whole biodiverse ecological systems, it really makes you feel like you're doing something good for the land and for the future generations, and ensuring that that land is taken care of and it will be here for generations to come is something that I think really impacts all Australians.
Well, what a great video. Hi everyone, it's fantastic to be here. Connecting with you, our members, on occasions like this is one of the great joys of my role. Tonight, I'll share an update on some of our valuable work we've delivered during the past financial year for you. We've made some bold changes to support the growth of your super, and I'm really excited to talk about them. Our work is driven by our purpose to create super you love, and our mission is to make the super experience simpler. We believe when super is easier to understand and get involved with, you are far more likely to take important actions that can be life-changing. What may seem like small things, like doing a quick
check for lost super or switching your investment option based on your lifestyle and needs can actually have a big impact. This work has become even more important as many of you face ongoing cost of living pressures. Super shouldn't add to your worries, and it can actually help you feel more confident about your financial future. So, how are we making things simpler? We've focused on creating outstanding member experiences to help make your interactions with us easy, engaging, and seamless. This includes our updated look, which you may have already noticed. Our refreshed visual identity has been designed with your experience at its centre. It has design elements that help us deliver information in simpler and more engaging ways. And with around 7 in 10 of you using your mobiles to manage your super, a mobile-first design was a priority. We still offer more traditional ways to get in touch too. Most of you choose to engage with us using our digital channels, so we've continued to make these even better so you can manage your super when and how you want. We've introduced a new onboarding system which has a personalised experience for new members, getting them set up on the right foot right from the start. We've enhanced the REST app, including adding a notification to let you know when your super hits your account. This helps you keep track of your super and make sure it's being paid when it should be. Giving you the resources, tools, information and advice that can help is a major focus for us. We wouldn't have seen so many members engaging with advice if it wasn't available to them online in a simple and convenient way. Plus, this year, we added more super learning content to our mix, including our newly launched podcast, Super Simple Chats. We have also upgraded our security to make sure we are constantly evolving the way we store and protect your information. From a member service standpoint, we've also been busy. Our efficient operations team are making sure you have the support you need when you need it. Our new approach supports fast processing and aims to give you a one-day turnaround wherever we can. We've made changes to our contact centre by guiding you to simple self-service options or immediately connecting you with experts for more complex issues. We're resolving more of your inquiries at first contact than ever before. Now, let's talk about retirement. We have created a new contact centre team that specialises in supporting our members in or approaching retirement. We recognise this is a time you often need extra support. We know everyone has varying levels of knowledge and super and retiring is complex. Retirement goals and pathways look different for everyone. Many Australians are now working for longer or coming back to the workforce during their retirement. We're seeing more of you adjusting plans as your situations change. To support this, we've expanded our educational resources for members in or approaching retirement. We've added content to our online retirement learning centre and recently ran a very popular Planning for Retirement webinar. Our retirement tools are designed to help with a range of specific advice needs. However, one online tool I want to highlight tonight is our Retirement Health Check. One of the main questions you ask us is how much money you'll need in retirement. After answering just 9 questions in about 5 minutes, you'll get an estimate of the annual income you could have in retirement. It's a great starting point to help you think about what your retirement will look like and what your needs will be. For all our members, phone advice and face-to-face seminars are also available. One-on-one support remains an important part of what we offer. It's key for those who prefer to have a conversation or would like more tailored personal advice. A good example of how personalised advice can make a big difference is contributions. Our advice team talk to many members, particularly members getting closer to retirement who are making extra contributions but aren't optimising these or are missing out on benefits they could access. The right contribution strategy can cost you nothing but it can save you thousands in tax and leave your super balance far better off. We offer simple advice from our in-house professional financial advisors at no extra cost to you. And if you need more complex financial planning support, this advice is also subsidised. If you'd like to book a call with one of our advisors, it's easy. On the right of your screen, there's a QR code that'll take you to our website to request a time that suits you. Now to our product features. This year, we reduced the number of options on our investment menu to simplify your experience. We've also renamed our default MySuper Core Strategy investment option as Growth to reflect its growth investment focus. These are big changes, but we believe they are necessary to make your experience simpler and ensure we are offering choice and quality. For anyone who would like to talk to us about your personal investment choice or the impact of the changes, we're here if you need support. Affordable, high-quality insurance is another very important part of the REST offering. We're proud to be one of the few super funds to offer income protection by default to all members where eligible, including casual workers. Plus, we know many Australians would not be able to afford insurance premiums if insurance wasn't available through super. This year, we made changes to our insurance premiums to ensure they continue to be fair and equitable for all our insured members. About 74% of you saw your premium costs go down, and while a small amount of you experienced an increase, we're confident our insurance continues to offer all our members value and remains highly competitive. Importantly, the insurance you access continues to offer flexibility. It's designed around life stage, which means we automatically adjust cover at key life stage milestones. Everyone's needs are different though, which is why cover and premiums can be scaled up and down depending on your needs and circumstances. I'd like to now touch on some of the important changes in the super system last year which benefited you. Firstly, the super guarantee rate increased to 11% from the 1st of July 2023. It increased again to 11.5% on the 1st of July 2024. Secondly, in a big step forward for women and families, the Federal Parliament this year passed the bill to pay super on government-funded paid parental leave. This is a change that REST has long advocated for and an important step towards closing the gender super gap. I'd also like to call out that advocating for greater fairness for young Australians is a key focus for REST as we champion further changes to the super system. Currently, those under 18 years old working fewer than 30 hours a week aren't eligible for compulsory super contributions from their employers, although some employers do choose to pay this. It's time for this unfair law to change, and we're calling on the government to engage in consultation, including with businesses, on a multi-year staged transition to change this unfair law. But before I wrap up, I'd like to thank you once more for joining us tonight. I'm looking forward to speaking to you again during the Q&A session shortly, and I'll now hand over to Simon, our Interim Co-Chief Investment Officer for the investment update. Thanks, Simon.
Thanks, Vicky. And hi, everyone. It's great to be here tonight to talk to you more about investments. As Vicky mentioned, I've recently had the privilege of stepping into the Co-Chief Investment Officer role at REST, alongside my colleague, Kiran Singh. Tonight, I'm pleased to be sharing an update on how our fund performed over the last financial year and what we're doing to help you achieve your personal best retirement outcome. Let's start with our results and what drove these. As James touched on, our growth option, which is our MySuper default option and how most of our members save for their retirement, returned 8.67%. This means its investment returns in financial year 2024 were better than its long-term average annual returns over both 10 and 20 years. This is a great outcome for all our growth members. Since the growth option started in 1988, it has generated an average annual return of 8.29%. This means that retirement savings in this option have grown faster than inflation over the longer term and have also delivered competitive long-term returns. Our default pension option, Balanced, also delivered results that we're proud of 7.56% for financial year 24 and an average annual return of 7.34% since it began in 2002. It's also worth calling out that our higher growth options with larger allocations to shares also had a very strong year, with most achieving double-digit performance. Our low-cost overseas shares indexed option, for example, delivered 18.07% for the year. Performance was solid across almost all of our diversified portfolios in financial year 24, despite another challenging year in investment markets. This included a backdrop of elevated inflation, higher interest rates, and ongoing geopolitical risks. So, let's take a look at the key drivers of our performance over the year. A big contributor was the strength of global share markets, particularly in the United States. Investments in American tech companies led US shares upwards, especially those with businesses linked to artificial intelligence. In Australia, it was the financial sector, led by the banks, that helped drive returns. Many share markets globally returned double digits, despite these higher interest rates and stubbornly elevated inflation during the year. Overall, our credit investments, which you can think of as corporate debt or bonds, also did well, thanks in part to those higher interest rates. On the chart, you can also see the negative return for unlisted property. Unfortunately, this asset class has recently been experiencing short-term challenges, primarily in the office sector. Despite this, we continue to believe in the long-term benefits of unlisted property in a diversified portfolio. What are some of the factors that guide how we invest? Our objective is to grow your super in a responsible way with a focus on the long term. We invest with your best financial interests at the heart of everything we do. This includes a focus on maximizing returns while keeping costs low. I'd like to touch on some of these in some more detail. Let's start with responsible investments. We know investing your super responsibly without sacrificing returns is important to you. A recent survey of REST members tells us 94% think it is important that REST invests responsibly, and 86% of you believe it's important we invest in renewable energy and sustainable initiatives. We therefore integrate material, environmental, social and governance matters throughout our investment process to better manage risks and improve returns. This can include important factors such as climate change, board diversity, cultural heritage, and workplace safety, because these compose financial implications for the investments we make. Now, let's look at our long-term approach. Super is an investment designed to help you meet your financial retirement goals. So it's also our job to keep that long-term focus. To do this well, we need to think about the society into which our members will retire. So, how can we maximize your super savings to deliver an income that provides real purchasing power in retirement, whether that's now or in the future? One way is by considering 5 trends that we think will have big effects on society and the markets we invest in. These are demographics, deglobalization, decarbonisation, digitalisation, and debt and central bank policy. Considering the recent strong performance of US technology shares, let's look at digitalisation as a theme in more detail. By digitalisation, we mean the process of making our businesses and our way of life more digital, interconnected and efficient. This trend has been shaping markets and society for a while now, and we expect it to continue. Although it's too early to fully grasp how this theme will play out, we know it provides opportunities for investment. Examples include companies supporting the energy transition and those developing the computing performed by AI, robotics, and cloud-based software. And through many of our options, our members can gain exposure to these companies and themes. One example is Rest's investment in NVIDIA, the California-based designer of programmable chips that are used by many large technology firms like Amazon and Google. The value of NVIDIA stood out over the year when its share price grew by nearly 200%. The need to store the information that these kinds of chips process is also creating opportunity. Data centers store and manage the rapidly growing amount of digital information we generate. That's all our messages, photos, videos, documents, everything we create online. They also support the complex computing tasks required for video games and everything we're doing online. As a result, data centers have become the backbone of our digital economy. A great example of how this is playing out in our portfolio is our $1 billion commitment to Quinnbrook Infrastructure Partners, which we announced last November. Quinnbrook is developing and investing in sustainable, hyperscale data centers in the US and Queensland. The data centers in development aim to use renewable power to keep our digital world humming. For their operators, with high energy costs and lower carbon footprint goals, these are expected to be attractive additional benefits. We believe our commitment to Quinnbrook is just one way Rest can contribute to long-term financial benefits for our members in a digitalised world. Now, let's consider our economic outlook for financial year 25 and beyond. While inflation and its effect on economic growth have been the main market drivers for the past couple of years, we expect their impact to moderate. Interest rates in the major economies are expected to move lower, but will likely settle at rates higher than we reached before the pandemic. At this stage, we therefore believe there will be what we call a soft landing for the global economy, rather than a recession. In Australia, inflation is also coming down, but it is taking a bit longer to do so than in the US. This means our interest rates are expected to stay relatively higher for longer. People are still facing cost of living pressures and household spending has been weak. With this backdrop, economic growth may remain slow. Other risks, which we are also watching out for as investors, include conflicts and political unrest. For example, if there is an escalation of current geopolitical tensions, it could trigger a significant disruption to the global oil supply, and economic growth could be still weaker. However, so far, the Australian and global economy has generally held up well, and we are cautiously optimistic for investment markets in the year ahead. We continue to maintain a well-diversified portfolio that we believe can weather all market conditions and deliver long-term results to set you up for your best possible retirement future. To wrap up, I would like to add that managing the retirement savings of each and every one of you is a responsibility we continue to take seriously. It is a privilege to look after your super, and we appreciate the trust you place in us. Thank you for your attention, and I'll now hand back to Gemma.
Thanks, Simon. And now it's time for our member question and answer session. Remember, we'll answer as many of your questions as we can tonight. For the questions that we don't get to, we'll provide our responses to all questions on our website within a month of the event. Remember, we can only answer general questions. We can't provide personal financial advice about your specific circumstances. I have James, Vicky and Simon ready to answer your questions. We also have our board directors, executive team and auditors available online as well. So straight to questions now. My first one's actually going to go to you, Simon. We tend to get lots for the CIO. It's from Daniel, and he asks, how has the fund's investment performance compared to its benchmark indices over the past year and the long term? What factors contributed to the performance, and are there any areas of concern? How does REST compare with other relatively sized industry funds?
Thanks very much for the questions, Daniel. In financial year 24, all of REST's diversified options delivered returns above their long-term averages. Our growth option, our default option, returned 8.67% compared to its objective return of 6.81%. This return was also above our long-term annualized objectives over 10 and 20 years, and since the option began in 1988. Strong returns in overseas shares were the main driver of this strong return, led by technology stocks such as Apple and Nvidia. On the Australian side, shares led by the banks led strong performance in those options as well. In terms of areas of concern, as I previously mentioned, unlisted property was the only asset class that delivered a negative performance for the year. Our higher growth options returned very strong returns due to their higher allocations in shares. Most of them achieved double-digit returns for the year. In terms of our competitiveness, REST seeks to remain competitive amongst other similar super funds. REST's 3-year ranking against competitors has been improving, and we now rank close to the top quartile, or 25%. Thanks, Gemma.
Thanks, Simon. It's great. The next question I'm going to throw to you, Vicky. It's from Yogesh, and he asks, I want to find out how I can ensure that I can be with REST forever, as REST is a retail type super fund and I am a civil engineer.
Great. Well, thank you, Yogesh, for the great question. Well, certainly REST was established back in 1988 and was the default super fund for the retail sector. And we continue to work really closely with our retail REST members and the broader industry. It's a crucial sector in the Australian economy. However, in today's world, as you would know, many of our members at REST and more broadly Australians work in many different industries, many different jobs, and in fact, many different employers, and sometimes at the same time, multiple employers. So certainly we are open for all Australians. And if you think about REST's membership, we've got more than 2 million Australians from all over the country. And that's 1 in 7 working Australians. So in fact, we have members of all ages, all demographics. They work in many different industries, sectors, jobs, whether that's nurses, accountants, fast food workers, retail workers, distribution, logistics. We welcome all at REST.
Thanks, Vicky. Okay, our next question is from Blake, and I'll throw it to you, Simon. Blake asks, how do you think companies will continue to generate returns for shareholders with a return to local manufacturing that current global tensions could demand in the future?
Thank you, Blake, for the question. Companies have continually adapted to change in markets. Deglobalization was one of the trends that I mentioned earlier, and this trend could create long-term investment opportunities as we see more local sourcing following COVID-19 and further rises in geopolitical risks. Over the longer term, deglobalization could discourage investment and lead to inflationary pressures. We believe that the most successful companies will be those with resilient supply chains that are agile and able to navigate these disruptions. These are all important factors that we look at when we choose and invest in particular companies in your portfolios, as well as the countries in which those are located.
Thanks, Simon. James, this question's for you. It's from Steph and Kafa, and they ask, how does the business stay prudent and efficient? What is the board of directors doing to reduce costs of operations?
Thanks, Gemma, and thank you, Steph and Kafa. Rest is a profit to member fund. So that means we stay as efficient as possible. We keep our costs as low as possible so we can maximize our members' super, your super. That's our DNA. The board plays an important role in this. Firstly, we have a board of directors with a mix of experience, perspectives, and history around the table that support, guide, and challenge management. The board sets Rest strategy. It approves the business plan, our operational and financial plan for the year ahead. It provides oversight and governance of Rest's expenditure to ensure that the decisions we make are decisions in the best financial interests of our members. Our governance framework supports this. We have the board's Audit and Finance Committee. We engage with our internal and external auditors, and we engage with our relevant regulators. So if you think it's like layers of oversight and responsibility to ensure we are acting prudently and efficiently at all times. Our focus as a profit to member fund also ensures that we deliver real outcomes in terms of cost discipline for the benefits of our members. In terms of optimizing our administration, we have delivered multi-million-dollar reductions in costs over multiple years. And one example of that recently is that we consolidated our contact center with our provider Concentrix, delivering significant savings at the same time as improving services for our members. Back to the Audit and Finance Committee, we have formal quarterly monitoring of our activities. Management have efficiency targets, so there's a culture of expense minimisation in the organisation. And I'll leave you with this. Based on APRA's operating statistics and our external benchmarking, our operating cost per member is in the best quartile. So we're doing a good job, but we are always looking at ways that we can be more efficient, more cost efficient. Again, back to the fact that we're a profit to member fund, we want to maximise the super of every one of our 2 million plus members. Thanks, Gemma.
Thanks a lot, James. The next question is for Vicky, and it's from Andrea, and she asks, I have no idea about super and don't have much in there.
Well, many of us feel the same way. I think many Australians feel a bit hopeless and helpless towards super, and it is pretty complex. So I feel for you. But I do have some suggestions. I think it's important to think that just a couple of small steps can actually really help you along the way. And as Simon's talked about, superannuation's a long-term investment. So even small steps today can really change your outcome when you're looking to retire. So some of the suggestions I would say is to download the app. The app is utilised by more than 800,000, 900,000 Rest members now. We have something like more than 30,000 people who log in every day. And it's a really simple way for you to just have a look at your balance and get to know your super a little bit more. And if you're not sure how to do that, you can call our contact centre who will walk you through the process. And on that app, there are some great features. One of them is called Learn, and they're little short videos of more, sort of 40 seconds a minute. And they really go to the basics of what is super, what is a contribution, what is insurance, what are my investment options, and just simple things for you to really just get to know your super in a time that suits you. The second thing, which I mentioned earlier, was we've launched our very first super podcast. You can download that super podcast on your platform of choice, so YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and those sort of things. And it's a really great introduction session with some of our education managers who talk about the simple and basic pieces around super that most people don't understand. So it's a really great way to learn a little bit more. And then if you've sort of passed those steps, you can always go to our website. There are lots of digital tools and calculators that you can put some information into. Within 5 minutes or so, it can start to teach you a little bit more about super. And I guess the last thing is you can always give us a call and someone can walk you through your super account and perhaps any broader questions you have, and just start you off with the simple facts around super. So I'd encourage you to give us a call, download the app, or have a look online.
Thanks, Vicky. I'm going to throw this next one to you as well. It's from Peter, and he asks, please elaborate on the closure of investment options, bonds, shares, etc.
Great. Well, we regularly review our investment options, and we're always looking for the right product mix, as I said earlier, but also the right quality and the right performance. And so we have made some big changes to our investment menu this year. We've gone from 15 investment options to 9. So we've closed 6 of those investment options. Now, one of the big drivers of why we did that is overwhelmingly, our members tell us that they find investment choices complex, difficult to understand, and they can't really compare the various options. They sort of sound similar. Some of them are called diversified, some are balanced, some are growth, and that just makes it complex to actually understand what they are. So we did close 6 of our investment options, and the things we thought about this with a lot of extensive consideration, and the considerations we thought about were, what is the member demand? How many members are actually in these investment options? Do they have scale? So do they have enough money and savings in each of these investment options? Because if they don't have that scale, it is then hard to achieve the right level of performance that we would expect to be giving you. And so those 6 investment options did impact around 2% of our REST members who were invested in those 6 investment options. So I recognise that would have been an inconvenience for those members to change, but we do believe that simplified menu and the other 9 investment options that we have means that members can look at other investment options that we think are performing well and do have the scale and does give the breadth of diversity that members need.
Thanks, Vicky. Okay, Simon, this is a question from you. It's for you. It's from Mitchell. And Mitchell asks, what is REST doing to divest itself of companies that are environmentally and or ethically irresponsible, including financial institutions that support the fossil fuel industries?
Well, firstly, thanks, Mitchell, for the question. We understand this is a really important question for many of our members. REST takes its position as an industry leader on the responsible investment side very seriously. Broadly speaking, REST applies 3 exclusions for listed companies across most of our investment options. These are tobacco manufacturers, controversial weapons manufacturers, and companies that make more than 10% of their revenue from thermal coal mining. You can find out more details in our investment guide on our website. We make investment decisions in the best financial interests of our members. We don't believe divestment is the only option to reduce risks and drive change. We believe in using a range of strategies that influence decision-making that can deliver long-term benefits for our members and society. Our sustainable growth option is also available to members who are looking for an option with enhanced environmental and social considerations.
Thanks, Simon. Okay, James, I'm going to direct this one to you. Let's just drifted off there just one moment. Does REST invest in residential housing? With Australia in a housing crisis, I think this kind of investment is important.
Great. Thanks, Gemma, and thank you for this important question. And in my view, I think the member who asked that question is absolutely right. We are in a housing crisis in this country. It's been 3 decades plus in the making, policy failure from local, state, and federal governments. The first and most important thing to say in response to the question from REST's perspective is that every single investment decision that we make must be in the best financial interests of our members. So every single investment opportunity, if it doesn't stack up, we're not going to do it. So that's the first and most important responsibility for REST on your behalf. What we do know is that the majority of our members are concerned about how they're going to be able to afford housing. And our members are concerned about either themselves, their children, or their grandchildren. How are they going to get their foot in the door and get into the housing market? At REST, we fundamentally believe that boosting housing supply is the most effective way to respond to the housing crisis. And there is an opportunity for REST to play an important role. And we do bring deep experience to the table. REST has invested in multifamily projects or build to rent, as we describe them here in Australia. We've been doing that for 10 years in the United States. We've made those investments in partnership with the largest developer and manager of multifamily projects in the US. So we're well placed to leverage that experience and bring that back here at home. But importantly, if there's going to be investment at scale in Australia, and we need housing development at scale, we got to get the right settings in place. And REST has been working with government, we've been working with industry, advocating to remove those barriers. And there's a number of barriers to the development of housing, particularly in planning around certainty of outcomes, certainty in terms of timing. That will give us, if we get that right, if we remove those barriers, that will give Australia a pipeline, long-term, of housing projects right across the country. And that's an opportunity for projects that we can invest in if it stacks up in our members' best financial interests. I'll finish on this point. We're already on our way at REST. We've joined with fund manager IFM to partner with community housing providers to support social and affordable housing projects. And we're doing that through the federal government's Housing Affordability Future Fund. So the capability's there, the experience is there at REST. We're willing to do it, but first, second, and third priority that we look at is it in our members' best financial interests? Hopefully those barriers can be removed and we'll see more of the projects that we're already keen and invested in through our partnerships with organisations such as IFM. But thank you very much for the question on a really important topic for our nation.
Thanks, James. This next one I'll direct to yourself, Vicky. It's from Philippe, and the question is, the AFR reported yesterday that industry funds are unprepared for the many members who will be transitioning to retirement. How is REST setting itself up to properly assist members in this phase?
Great, very good question. And yes, it certainly is an important time. And heading into retirement is also a really complex period in people's lives. The questions around, am I able to access Centrelink? Do I have any availability of that? When should I retire? How much do I need in retirement? Can I transition? Can I go back to work? There's a myriad of questions that people can ask. It can be a really difficult time, but it doesn't have to be. So the process of transitioning from retirement, from accumulation, so your My Super account that you would have with REST today, to a pension account can be done quickly and easily, particularly with the help of one of our REST advisors. So the forms are online. online, you can go onto our retirement hub. There's a whole dedicated area there, and as I mentioned earlier, we have a now dedicated retirement team who specialise in supporting retirement in our contact centre. So talking to one of those is really important, or you can, at no additional cost, get some initial simple advice from our financial advisors. So from my perspective, reading online some of the aspects around Retirement Hub, but then talking to an advisor is really a first step. We have a Rest pension account, an account-based pension. It has been a leading account for many years, and it just really depends on your needs and as I said earlier, how you're going to transition and when to retirement. And I do fundamentally believe getting that little bit of advice, because everyone's circumstances are so unique in Australia, whether you own your house, whether you're renting, whether you've got dependents, whether you've got debts, all sorts of things that need to be taken into consideration. So I would really encourage you to talk to us, and I believe that we can help you through that retirement phase.
Thanks, Vicky. And thank you, everyone, for your questions. They're great. This next one is for yourself, Simon, and it's from Michael. Michael is asking, are you focusing on growth before special interest groups' requests for investments?
Thanks again for the question, Michael. When we look at investments, as James mentioned, the first test for any investment is the investment in members' best financial interests? So we look at all of our investments with that lens before we make the decision to invest. The financial interests we're looking to do is to maximize our members' retirements, savings. And so when we take those into account, we are considering that as our main and sole test before making an investment on our members' behalf. We do not prioritize special interest groups. I did mention earlier the 3 areas that we do not invest in across most of our portfolios, but that is the approach that we take in maximizing your best financial interest.
Thanks, Simon. I've got a few here that I'm just going to start throwing at you now.
No problem.
This one's from Van, Tanya, Samuel, Alex, and Gavin. And they've asked, can we choose to invest in the Bitcoin ETF or other cryptocurrencies in any of Rest's investment options?
Thanks for those questions around the area of Bitcoin. At present, Rest does not offer the opportunity to invest into Bitcoin ETFs or into Bitcoin via our investment options. We understand that this is a really interesting area and that a lot of members are interested in this area of investment, but it's not one that we provide access through via our investment options. I would say that we are tracking this area and very aware of the growing opportunities for investment in the broader blockchain and distributed ledger areas of investment that we see as part of that trend of digitalization that is shaping future investment markets, and will continue to invest your interests in that broader trend.
Thanks, Simon. The next question is from Craig, and he asks, how is Rest going to use AI to help members achieve higher returns in the future?
Thanks for that question on AI. AI is a really exciting place to invest. In addition to areas like data centers that are at the heart of the AI boom, we are also interested in the way that artificial intelligence is disrupting all industries. We see particular opportunities across the healthcare space, agriculture, and other industries that AI offers increased productivity gains for that are still to unfold. When we work both directly investing and with our investment managers, we're following this trend as it evolves, and we think we're right at the beginning of a new revolution in this area, and we're excited to see where it brings us and the gains that it can bring to Australia and the wider economy at large.
Thanks, Simon. James, this next question's for you, and it's from Joanne, who shares that she's an Indigenous person from Western Australia. So Joanne asks, as Indigenous life expectancy is less than non-Indigenous community, are these areas being addressed for Indigenous community?
Thanks, Gemma, and thank you, Joanne. I remember you asked a question last year about REST's approach in supporting our First Nation members, and I appreciate you asking a follow-up question and an important one tonight. And I'm pleased to provide an update, and I'd like to talk about a couple of things, Joanne, and to all our members. Firstly, REST recognises our First Nation members face unique challenges that can affect their access to and their experience of our super system. As Joanne said in her question, First Nations people have lower life expectancy, and that's one of the major challenges. It means they're less likely to reach preservation age, and First Nations people less likely to access their retirement savings. REST, Joanne, has been a strong advocate to addressing this inequity, and we have a clear and important role to play. That's why we're calling on the federal government to join us and other industry stakeholders in meaningful dialogue and consultation with First Nations peoples together, we want to explore what are the options for reform. What are the options for reform to address this inequity and ensure that for our First Nations people, current preservation age and lower life expectancy is addressed. So Joanne, on that first issue that you raised, or the first issue I want to talk about, we'll continue to strongly advocate with the federal government and with other partners across industry and across Indigenous communities on this really critical issue. The second thing I wanted to raise by way of an update for your question is on the issue of reforming binding deaf nominations to recognise kinship structures. So currently, these binding nominations can only be made to a legal personal representative or a dependent. That doesn't directly guarantee the inclusion of First Nations kinship structures. So Vicky and I have raised this directly with a number of ministers and policymakers in Canberra. We included this issue in our pre-budget submission with the federal government. We take this issue very seriously. A superannuation system that recognises First Nation kinship structures would mean that in the devastating, unfortunate situation of having to make a death benefit claim, this system would be more inclusive and more accessible to First Nations peoples. So this is an important question you raised, Joanne. We'll continue to work through the course of the next year. I look forward to a question from you and updating you again on progress that we can make on both addressing the issue of life expectancy as well as the issue of kinship structures. But thank you again. Thanks very much.
Thanks, James. The next question is for yourself, Vicky, and it's from Joel. Joel asks, with all the recent cyber attacks, what are you doing to improve cyber security at REST?
Well, this is a really important issue, and cybersecurity is of paramount importance, and it's, I believe, core to what we actually do in super funds. We are the custodians and stewards of more than $86 billion of your savings for more than 2 million Australians. So it's essential that we continuously invest, and we have been. We continuously monitor the threats and the risks that are presented to us, and we look to do that to ensure we've got the appropriate controls and capabilities in place. And I would say to you that we just continually are investing in capabilities because this is an area that is moving very quickly. We have a comprehensive program in place to manage cybersecurity. And as I said, we're continuously investing. Some of the things we've done specifically in 2024 alone, we've implemented a new enhanced SOC operation, which is our Security Operations Centre. and that is a new cyber defence, people, technology, and processes that supplement REST's own expertise and experience. We've also implemented some new partnerships this particular year with experts in digital forensics, security testing, service provision, and all of those capabilities that typically wouldn't have existed in super funds many years ago. We've also invested and brought in some new roles into REST, so around cloud security, and we know that's been a challenge and an issue more broadly, something that we need to be experts in, identity and access management and being aware around identity theft and the like, and also cyber defence. And we would see this as a continued core pillar that we will continue to invest in and keep lifting our capabilities in to make sure that we keep the safety of our members' savings for the future.
Thanks, Vicky. Simon, this one's for you. It's from Vanessa. And Vanessa asks, following the results of the US election, will our returns be better? And what strategy will you take to protect our returns?
Thanks, Vanessa, for a very topical question. And we now know the results of the US election earlier than we did during the previous election campaign in 2020. With our portfolios, we invest in diversified portfolios that take into account different outcomes. And some of those scenarios that we include in building and constructing your portfolios included different outcomes of the US election. So I'm pleased to say that the outlook for our investments across our portfolios, by way of that diversification, should allow the portfolios to withstand different outcomes for the global economy. We can't predict what is going to happen with the next US administration. We are receiving indications through the media every day. What we can do is not forecast markets, but build robust and resilient portfolios that can handle different fluctuations in markets and economies, depending on the types of policies that are implemented under a Trump presidency or indeed other economic shifts. So our outlook, as I mentioned before, for the global economy remains positive, and we believe that the REST portfolios that our members are invested in are structured well to withstand different conditions that unfurl in the years ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. I've got another one for you from James, who is asking, is REST investing in green and renewable energy resources?
Thanks, James. We do invest in renewable energy and as well in what we call the energy transition, which recognises that on a path to a lower carbon world, we need to invest in all types of investments, be it power generation, distribution, infrastructure, that creates a world in which a lower carbon or a net zero world is possible. And at the moment, REST is already actively investing into those areas. In the unlisted area, mostly via our infrastructure asset class, we have approximately $1.7 billion invested in renewable energy and energy transition assets. On the green bond side, being debt instruments that have renewable or green energy requirements underpinning those investments, we've invested approximately $200 million. And then via our listed company investments in shares, we have exposure to around $3 billion of renewable energy and energy transition assets. All of these, which we think are robust and strong investments underpinning your investment portfolios.
Thanks, Simon. I've got another one. This one's from Jordan, and they ask, can the managed funds beat the index fund in the long run with fees in the calculation?
Thanks, Jordan. That's a good question. When you're choosing how you invest your super, there are a few different options to consider. One of those is how much risk you're comfortable with. Generally, higher risk options can generate higher returns. Also, a consideration is whether you invest in indexed options or in actively managed options or investments. In actively managed options, a team of investment managers or advisors aims to outperform an underlying stock market or index and manage the risk in your portfolio by adjusting the portfolio away from the index. Index options are different. Instead, money is invested to replicate the index. So, for example, in Australia, it may be invested to replicate the ASX 300. What this means is that your return will be the same as the underlying stock market return. With an index option, it aims to get that market return. So when the markets are going up, your investments returns will go up in lockstep with the index. Because the option is not managed actively, if markets then go down, you'll also follow the performance of the market downwards. Active investments tries to steer away from those index and provide you with increased returns above the index in strong markets and in weak markets. Rest offers you the choice. We offer indexed options to members who are comfortable with this type of exposure and also seeking lower cost investments. We also offer diversified options, and these may include a range of asset classes such as private and unlisted assets, as well as actively managed equity funds. Rest believes that there is value in actively managing your investments, but will always maximize your returns after considering the risks and the costs while we maintain our long-term focus.
Thanks, Simon. Vicky, for you, a question from Chris, who asks, given the recent press about Cbus handling of insurance claims, can you please comment on Rest's stats around processing times to pay claims and the aging of those outstanding?
Excellent question, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, Rest has a very significant portion of members who are insured, more than 700,000 of our members, and we offer death insurance, TPD, and income protection, and we believe that's a really comprehensive and important insurance for our members should they want it. It's an area that we've focused on over the last couple of years. We transitioned insurers a few years back, and we did that deliberately to invest in our overall online platforms and lodgements and claims so that we could make the process simpler for our members. And we saw quite a transformation from that quite a few years ago. So I will give you a couple of stats that you are looking for. And we're always monitoring and looking to improve these service levels. And you'll see this in our annual report, but our decision time for claims is really at the stronger end. So for death insurance claims, our average over the last year was 12 days versus the industry average was 31 days. For income protection, it was our decision time was 33 days versus the industry average was 52 days. And TPD was 110 days to the industry average was 128 days. Now, some of those timeframes might still sound like a long time, but some of these processes are quite complex. In death claims, for example, you have a claims staking process. So you have a lot of people who are party to the person who has passed away, and we need to follow the law and the law in various different states, or look at the nominations, whether they're binding or non-binding, and make sure that we are allocating that superannuation balance and that benefit to the right beneficiaries. So that can be complex, but we want to get there faster and as fast as we possibly can, and that's why we're investing online. If you look at things like income protection and TPD, term and permanent disability, those type of insurances do require a lot of medical documents and assessments. So again, what we need to do is to make sure that we're continuously investing in ways that doctors and other people who are involved in the assessment of those crucial illnesses and acute illnesses can do that in a really simple and easy way. So I think there's still room for improvement, and we will continuously look to do that. If I relate that equally to our complaints, AFCA is the body that has recently released a report on complaints about more broadly about any complaints about a super fund and specifically about insurance. And again, in terms of numbers, for the second year in a row, REST has achieved the lower AFCA complaint volumes compared to all other large and very large funds. So in terms of statistics, it's 0.13 for every 1,000 members at REST. It's one of the lowest complaints. And for insurance, it's also one of the lowest. And that doesn't happen by chance. It is because we have continuously invested and we keep looking to improve and digitise those processes where we can to make sure that they are smoother and quicker, and we can track the workflow and the progress. So more work to be done, but we continue to invest significantly in insurance because we believe it's a really important value. We paid out hundreds of millions of dollars to tens of thousands of members in the last financial year, and we have every year, and we know those members who's claimed that insurance, it is really a lifeline for them in a very difficult time. So we will continue to make investments in that.
Thanks, Vicky. We are rapidly running out of time, so we've got time for 2 more questions. And Jake, I will absolutely ask your question now. Jake, Vicky, this is for you, and it's from Jake, who's asking a question about the user interface and old portal that needs updating. Is the dashboard, and he's got in brackets here, logged in page, being looked at for improvements, especially in speed? The requests and experience of sluggish and UI could be improved significantly, especially for things like changing investment types.
Great. Well, firstly, thank you, Jake, for giving us the feedback. We welcome all feedback, and it's really important to hear from you, our members. We do have a major program on right now to upgrade our member online or member access portal. It is a big program of work. It will go to things like the UI and the design and the options underneath that. We don't expect that to be released until 2025. It is a big program, and it does include things around identity management, etc. So it's not just the visual look and feel, but it's also got significant enhancements around how we would like to make sure that that identity access is really strict, as I said before, in terms of our investing in cyber and making sure things are really secure. So it is coming soon. We have invested a lot in our app and the digital experience there, and we get a lot of great feedback. It is rated very highly, and we would like to now replicate that type of outcome in the portal. So we happily take that feedback on board, Jake.
Thanks, Vicky. I'm going to leave the last word to Simon. The question is from Chris, who asks, what can REST do for future returns to be healthy?
Thanks, Chris. And very much when we construct portfolios on behalf of our members, we're looking to the future. We're aware of the need for short-term returns and looking to the longer term. After all, 50% of our members will likely retire after 2050. I'm going to come back to that diversified portfolio that we offer our members through our diversified options. We think that all-weather type of return will give members the best options of maximising their future retirement incomes and be best set in a changing world that offers different investment risks and opportunities as we try to put your money, our members' money, to work in maximising our financial returns.
That's excellent. Thanks, Simon. We haven't been able to get to all of your questions tonight, but we will get to them and place our answers on the REST website over the next month. So from us here tonight, and we'd like to say thank you. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for joining us tonight. Stay safe and good night.